Hey guys, Fuzzy Foodie here. I'm back with my recipe for Granny Smith caramel apple pie. This is probably the best apple pie I've ever had, and it's one of my family's favorites. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as we do. The list of ingredients is in the video description down below, and if you'd like the full recipe as well as my individual notes that I make as I'm making these recipes, please sign up for our Patreon page. Members will get access to download the recipes as well as videos that are commercial free. Alright guys, let's get to it.
Okay, for this recipe you will need a deep dish pie plate, 2 Pillsbury pie crusts, 8 to 9 large Granny Smith apples, half a cup of salted butter, 3 tablespoons all-purpose flour, a quarter cup of water, half a cup of white sugar, and half a cup of packed dark brown sugar. You want to make sure that you leave your pie crust out 30 to 40 minutes to make sure it becomes easy to work with. This will prevent it from tearing when you're trying to mold it into the pie dish and pull it up onto the edges. We need to make sure we pull the dough up onto the edges so that we get a good seal when we place the lattice onto the pie. So we're going to go ahead and core, peel, and slice our apples. With this machine, sometimes it'll leave bits of the core behind, so we want to make sure that we clean that out and also slice our apples up. And we're going to place them neatly in the pan and until we've got enough in there that we've mounded it slightly over the top. Next, what we'll do is we'll clean up the counter and we're going to go ahead and create our lattice. So after we've cleaned it, we'll go ahead and lay out our top piece of crust, lay it flat, and we're going to use a pizza cutter to cut it into about 11 evenly sized strips. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and lay them on the pie, starting with the middle first. It's the longest piece. And what you want to do is we're going to go ahead and press these down on either the left or right side to make sure that we seal it on one edge, because what we're going to be doing is we don't want to seal both sides because we're going to be peeling these back to insert the other layers in the opposite direction to create the lattice. So once we've laid about 6 pieces on the pie, we'll go ahead and make sure they're pressed down and into the other crust. Make sure we've got a nice seal. And what we'll do is once we've sealed it on one edge, you can see me pressing it in there. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and peel back the middle layer and then the middle strip and then every other strip. And we're going to lay a piece horizontally across the pie. So you can see here I peel back the middle piece, skip one, peel it back, go the opposite direction, skip one, peel it back. Now I'm going to lay across the shortest piece, and I'm going to press it down on both sides to seal it, and I'll go ahead and put the vertical pieces back the way that they were. Next, we'll start with the 2 slices on either side of the middle piece, and we'll peel those back and then peel back the 2 side pieces, and we'll put in the next longest piece of the crust. We'll fold those pieces back and repeat the process 2 more times until we've used up all the crust, and this will create our lattice top. Press it down, make sure it's sealed on the sides. Alternate the pieces, put the final piece on. Now once that's done, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and press down the crust along the rim, make sure we filled in any empty spaces. And then once we've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to take our middle index finger and thumb on each hand and put them together so they make a point. And we'll put them about 1 millimeter or 2 apart on the rim and push it together until we feel the crust squish up between our 2 thumbs and index fingers and make these little points, carefully working our way around the edge. And this will make sure the pie has a nice seal and the crust is all sealed together. You can see here we're just slowly rotating the pie, working our way around. And this really gives it a nice fancy look. It looks really refined once it's been baked. I feel taking this a couple seconds to do this extra step really, gives it a better look. And you can see up close, this is what it looks like. Next, we'll go ahead and start our caramel sauce. We're going to heat a pan over medium heat, throw in our butter, and once it's melted, we'll go ahead and add our all-purpose flour to create a roux. And once the paste is formed and we've mixed out as much of the lumps as we can, we're just going to cook it for a couple minutes, throw in the water, white sugar and brown sugar, and we're going to continue mixing this until it comes to a slight boil. And then we're just going to simmer it for another 4 or 5 minutes on low. And you want to make sure that you're constantly whisking the sauce. It really needs attention because if you let it sit for a moment, it could burn. Once the sauce has been completed, we're going to go ahead and pour this over the lattice. We want to make sure to pour it slowly so that we don't overflow it over the edges. And we're going to go ahead and make sure that we spread it evenly over the lattice so that some of this caramel sauce will crystallize during the baking process and make the crust extra crispy. And you can see here when we continue pouring it over the lattice, it'll soak, it'll work its way down into the pie. And once that's done, what we're going to do is we're going to bake this in a preheated oven that's been preheated to 425 degrees for 15 minutes. And then at that point, we'll turn the oven down to 350 degrees, bake it for another 35 to 40 minutes. If the pie crust starts to get too brown, what you can do is put aluminum foil over the edges or over the entire top to make sure that it doesn't get too brown or burn. You may also want to place a rolled baking sheet below the pie when it's baking, just to make sure if anything, boils out of the pie, it doesn't land on the bottom of your oven and create a caked on mess. And that's how Fuzzy does it. Until next time, ciao.